Today on the Riff, Jeremy sits down with his mother-in-law. They talk about the 5 habits we hope every North Pointer develops in their life. And love. I have been waiting for this one, and the day is finally here. We hope today is helpful and hopeful. Thanks for listening.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Riff. I'm Jeremy. I am going to introduce my special guest in a second. It's going to be probably awkward for a little bit until I introduce you, but that's all right because I need to give some backstory. Okay. A year ago, I had a very special guest on The Riff, and we have guests from time to time, but this one is a special one. This was my favorite mother-in-law. Favorite mother-in-law. Last May, she was on an episode. And I thought it'd be great to have her as a guest because she is endearing. She's warm. She's friendly. Most people meet her and instantly feel close. A quick connection. And she also is one who has such a great ability to connect Jesus to everyday conversations, and God's used her in so many ways. And so I thought it would be a great idea to bring her on our podcast to talk about a tool of how to develop natural conversations about Jesus, which was great. People appreciated that. But the challenge that I have is I was unprepared for how many people would come and tell me that that was their favorite Riff episode of all time. Wow. At first, I thought that's great. Eventually, I thought, well, now my feelings are a little hurt. But I thought it is important. We need to welcome back a callback, a repeat guest to The Riff, Evelyn Burt, my mother-in-law. Welcome to The Riff.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. It's an honor to be invited back.
Well, I have to. The people demand it.
Is that right?
Yes, they do. Wow. They demand it. Now,
thank you, Lord.
Now, in the last year, though, our Riff studio has changed location. So What do you feel like? Do you feel like this could feel like home?
Yeah, well, kind of, yes. This is very nice. I like that bright red, and
it's now if you're just listening to us, those are the details that you miss out. You might want to go to the YouTube. Also, you're going to miss out if you're not watching your mug. So tell us a little bit about this mug that you have.
Well, I asked if I could have some water, and I would have expected a bottle of water, but they bring me this cup that's got these creatures on it. And I'm like, what is this?
Well, it's one creature, really. It's Yoda. It's Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
I don't know Baby Yoda.
Well, Baby Yoda is fictitious, so that's why you don't know Baby Yoda, but is known as a very wise sage in the Star Wars trilogy. Now, have you watched Star Wars?
No.
Have you read the books?
No, not interested.
That was my next question. How interested are you in the book? So what I want to do today, I want to just kind of give an update. So tell us a little bit, just a recap, just a quick, maybe a minute-ish snapshot teaser of talking about Jesus. That's what we focused on our last episode. So how would you explain to someone who's listening who didn't listen to our last episode, why is it important to talk about Jesus if you're a follower of Jesus to those who might be placed in your life?
Well, first of all, I believe it's a command that Jesus gives us to share the good news of Him wherever we go. And I think it's really important that when we prepare ourselves for the day, that we ask the Lord to lead us and guide us to those and give us a sensitivity when it's time to speak for Him. And I'm telling you, if you do that with a sincere heart, there are opportunities everywhere you go.
Wow.
And if you didn't watch that last episode, you probably should do it. What number was that?
I don't know. It's number 1 in people's hearts. I know that, but it's in May of 2024.
Yeah.
And it's a really good one because I think the way you are able to just give practical examples allows us to connect the dots for our own journey of, sometimes I make it harder in my mind than I need to be.
I believe that.
How nervous do you get when you sit on a plane, when you're talking with someone at the store? How nervous are you to talk faith, or are you looking for an opportunity? What does that look like?
Well, probably when I first started out as a teenager, I was very nervous. It was very scary. But as I have continued to practice that, it is almost as natural as breathing to me. I see opportunities, and I don't want to miss an opportunity. And if you listen back to that other podcast, you'll hear the story.
Oh, yeah, the one that's number one in people's hearts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, I wasn't saying it for that. I was saying the story that has really driven me to not miss an opportunity was the dream that I shared in my last podcast.
And that was with your boss, correct? Or someone you worked with?
Somebody I worked with, yes.
And that was a powerful story.
I was 20 years old, and it changed my life forever.
Yeah.
From a dream. But you'll have to watch that podcast to hear the whole story.
You will. So here's what I like to do. Now, we kind of have a fun ending surprise today, but we'll get there. But what I want to do is I want to take a moment, and I look at you as someone who has a very healthy relationship, obviously, in your faith. And at North Point, what we're trying to do is create long-term faith in people's lives. That we don't want to just be an experience or a fad or a trend in someone's life. But we want them to be able to follow Jesus for a long time, and that it impacts their legacy. And so I've got 5 habits that I think are important. I think it'd be kind of fun. Let me just throw these habits to you one at a time.
Okay.
And if you have opinions or examples or thoughts on these habits, I think it'd be helpful for us to hear how you apply these. The first is what we want for every North Pointer is daily integration of Scripture of some type, whether it's I'm listening to it on an app, whether I'm reading it, a Bible plan. I just feel like if I want to live for Jesus for a long time, that has to become a rhythm I develop. So with that, how has Bible integration, what are some tips or habits, or what does that look like in your life? How do you get Scripture in you?
Well, I feel like it's important to do every morning. And I will say that the thing that helped me the most was the 1-year Bible. As a kid, I would start reading in January. I'd make this resolution. I'm going to read through the Bible. And for the first 2 or 3 weeks every year, boy, I would read like crazy. And one year I actually got as far as Joshua 8. Now, why I stopped at that point, I don't know, but I did. And then it was not happening again until the next January. And it wasn't until I was an adult, well into my adult years, that I was introduced to the 1-year Bible. And what I like about that, it holds you accountable. Because if whatever the day's date is, if you open it up and you're like, ooh, I'm way behind, you know you have some catch up to do. But that 1-year Bible has really helped discipline me. It holds you accountable.
And that kind of gives you a little of Old Testament, New Testament.
Yes. You're reading a little. I feel like it's my spiritual vitamin. You're reading a little bit of the Old Testament, the New Testament, a little bit of the Proverbs, and a little bit of the Psalms. And by the time the year is over, you've read through the whole Bible one time, and you've read through Psalms and Proverbs twice.
Okay. Well, that's one of our 5 habits. Okay. And it's always fun for me to see how other people have done this, who also are living a life that we want to do something similar. One of the other habits is we call it arrows out, that we would look for a way to serve. And so I want to kind of specifically talk to you about this one, because I know that you are very involved in your local church, right? And that you serve, and you've also figured out a way to serve at the YMCA with a very community. So can you tell us a little bit about how serving, how you've done that at the church? What are some areas that you serve? And then I'll talk about the why.
Okay. In the church, I have been involved with the I Said Yes to Jesus team. So when people are giving their life to Christ for the first time, we have a booth that we're able to talk to them and help them get started in the next steps of that. And then I'm also serve on the baptismal team. And that's probably one of my, I love that one, because when people are getting baptized, I love to give them this little pep talk about this isn't just a ritual. It's not just a ceremony. It is all of that, but it's more than that, because you're going public with your faith. You've already given your life to Jesus, but now you are telling the world you are committed to following Jesus the rest of your life. And I love to be able to pray for them and just challenge them to not forget that date, write it down in their Bible and I like to tell them that the enemy's going to come along. He's not happy about the celebration that we're all celebrating with you today, but he will come along and try to make you think, oh, you can't do this. What were you thinking about? You really thought getting dunked in water was going to make all the difference in the world? And I'm telling you, yes, it does, because you're going to write that date down and you're going to be able to say, no, I am a child of the living God.
Yeah.
And get behind me, Satan, because I'm aware of what you're going to try to do to me. You're trying to discourage me, and I'm not going to be discouraged. We have those low moments, but we just keep pressing on.
I love that. You're just giving so many people that shot of hope and faith right before one of the biggest decisions they ever make. Yeah. And I, as a pastor, and I know your pastor well, I love that as a pastor, you have volunteers who are so passionate about that moment that are help just create that voice of encouragement. Now, tell me about the why. It's a food thing. You do like some type of food deal. I think it's awesome.
Actually, it's a senior community. Okay. We get a room at the Y, and on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, anybody that considers themselves a senior, usually 50 and over, are welcome to come in, have coffee. There's usually snacks.
Well, time out.
Yes.
You're telling me next year I'm invited?
Yes, you are. Oh, and my girls both would be welcome now anytime.
Oh, my word. My goodness. Okay, well, so real young, youthful seniors. Okay, so 3 times a week, what do you do? You have this room.
It's just a time for seniors to gather together, and it's a social hour. Some of them are playing games. No. Some are just visiting. Usually the guys are sitting at one table. The women seem to collect at another table. Then in the middle, there's a game table. Okay. And there's certain people that love to play these games every week.
Are you a game player?
I'm playing the game of friendliness, and I like to go around and I like to make sure everybody knows everybody, because when I first started, I did not feel like they all recognized each other. They didn't even know their names. Yeah. So I went around and introducing myself to them and then introducing themselves to each other so they could exchange names.
So you're the hostess.
And I think so. And I tell them, I said, now we are a very friendly group here. I said this after I've been going for a while. And every Friday when I'm there in town, I make cookies for them. That might sound counterproductive for being at the Y, but
I didn't even think about that.
Yes. So
well, actually, it helps people keep going because now they're not getting to their goals so fast.
They look for me to be there on Friday. And if I'm not, I get a question, where are you? It's Friday. Where are the cookies? They don't miss me maybe as much as they do the cookies. But anyway.
Well, what I love that is that's just a practical way. You're using your gifts, right? You are hospitable, playing the game of friendliness. That's what you do. And doing it in a way to not only just serve at the church in a significant way, but you're serving the community. And those who are listening, I think that helps us when we remind ourselves what I'm doing for other people makes a difference.
It does. And I have to just add to that as I am getting well acquainted with these people, I consider them my friends, my wife family, if you will. Yeah. And God gives me almost every time I'm there an opportunity to talk to somebody, maybe one-on-one, about Jesus, to encourage them in their faith. Never feel like I'm pressuring them or anything, but I keep my ears and eyes open. I know the ones that aren't interested at all, and I leave them alone. I respect that, and we have a good understanding about that. But there are people that are eager to hear the words of encouragement that God gives me to share with them. And I think that can be true for every one of us. Yeah. We're not blessed just for ourselves. We're blessed to share that with other people.
I love it. Okay, another of the habits. Okay, a third one is having Christ-centered community with others who are Jesus followers. Having some people in your life that you have intentional connection with. Obviously over the years, there's different seasons, different stages of what that looks like. Maybe it was when you were in the Navy, perhaps. You spent so many years traveling different spots where you had to find community quickly. So maybe something comes to your mind is, where has there been a point in your life where Christian community has been helpful, and how did you find it?
Well, again, I'm pretty outgoing, so I get out and meet my neighbors really quickly, and I find out who are the Christian people. And quite often, I would host a small group Bible study in my neighborhood and invite those that I know are Christians and those that I think would love to know about Jesus.
Why in your neighborhood?
Because that's where I live. That's where I get to.
I love that.
Well, it's that's where they're going to get to see me every day, in daily activities. And I think that's really important.
That's awesome. And, sometimes, and you've probably been a part of, obviously, church groups that meet at church probably over the years. When I was growing up, that was basically the model of, if you're in a group, it's always at the church. And we have some of those. And we'll probably always have some of those because we have a facility and that works.
Yeah.
But I think the scalability and the practicality is if I can figure out in my own world that I'm living, for a lot of us, it's a neighborhood, maybe it's a work situation, maybe it's an activity, to bring community and connection there, that just makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then my last two, one, we talked about it, and you got to go back to May of 2024 for the podcast, but it's investing in people who are spiritually unconvinced. And that was basically the crux of our conversation of how do we have people in our life that we're just really investing in. And then the last one, and this one I think be up your alley here. And it's the hardest one for me to just kind of make tangible. But the fifth habit is developing an awareness of God's Spirit throughout the day. Just throughout the day. So I'm not compartmentalizing. So maybe it's prayer. Maybe it's, are there different ways that you would encourage someone who's listening? If the Spirit of God is within us, how do we begin to develop that awareness throughout the day? What are some things that maybe you do throughout the day to just talk to God or listen for God or promptings? What does that look like for you?
Well, for me, I speak to God many times throughout the day because usually it's going to be something that's impacting me. Maybe I need help with something. Maybe I'm in a situation where I'm not real comfortable in, and I just am silently praying, Lord, show me where I can fit in with this group of people, or what can I say to someone? Show me someone. I find myself, if I'm in a group setting where I really don't know anybody, I look for somebody that looks like they're feeling out of their comfort zone as well.
Yeah.
And in the military, we did a lot of socializing. And a lot of times, wives, spouses were expected to be there, and many of them don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I was in settings that I wasn't really comfortable to be in. So I look for those people that look like they don't know what they're supposed to be doing, but they're there. And I reach out and chat with them, and there's always God moments when you do that. But I find that disciplining yourself to look for opportunities to be used by God requires you to be communicating with God throughout the day and making you mindful of opportunities. And sometimes he just kind of nudges at me and say, what about that person right there? Oh, yeah, what about that person? Okay, let's go, So
for some people who faith is a newer venture for them, a new relationship with God, they didn't grow up with this or didn't have this modeled, but now they've come to the spot of recognizing they have an experience with Jesus, they want to follow him. It might feel foreign. Like, how do I talk to God throughout the day? Is that getting alone, kneeling down, which would be one form of prayer, but what are other ways of prayer? What does that look like? Or is it obvious to others? What are ways that you pray besides just by yourself alone?
I think even in moments like this, I'm praying for the right answers to give because sometimes I don't know exactly what to say, but I just pray silently and just ask Lord to use me. I believe one of the things that I'm very much aware of is, I've made mention of it before, when God blesses us with something, when you get excited about something, it's not hard to talk about it because you are genuinely excited about it. You go to a restaurant and you go, oh my word, that is the best restaurant. And you tell people, you've got to go here. You've got to try this because you've tried it. When you get involved with Jesus and you get excited about what he's done in your life, I think you'll find that it's a lot easier to open up and share because enthusiasm is contagious. And as we share the good things God has done for us in our lives, and some of us have been rescued from really deplorable situations, that is something you should be really excited about, just to give hope to other people.
Yeah.
So I think the key thing is just getting excited about what God is doing in your faith. And as we read God's word, it can become so exciting to us.
Yeah.
What maybe if you didn't really have a relationship with the Lord and you tried reading the Bible before and you're thinking, yeah, this isn't speaking to me at all. Well, you haven't become one of his children yet. So we get excited when we get to know Jesus and and we pray and ask the Lord to speak to us through his word. And when he gives us a nugget of truth, you just want to tell somebody. That's how I have found it to be. And,
I've talked about it a little this way. I think I read it from Larry Osborne. He talks about this idea called the dimmer switch principle, like a light dimmer switch, that every time we sense God saying something to us and we obey, it's like the dimmer switch gets a little brighter. Every time I ignore it or push it aside, it's like the dimmer switch gets darker. And I think there's this sense of we can develop this ability to recognize, maybe you're at work today and you sense this stressful email, just to take a moment and breathe and say, God, speak to me, help me.
Absolutely.
It's too easy to go to a chat GPT or just an automated deal. But if you just say, man, I want the Spirit of the living God. So those are our five things that we want for all North Pointers that I think positions us for the long haul. Now, I want to do it, catch people up to speed a little bit. So tell us a little bit of background. Let's see. You were married how many years?
36 years, 36 and a half years.
36 and a half years, military.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay.
45 and a half. Yes, I am.
45 and a half.
He was in the Navy for 36 years, but we were married 45 and a half years.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's all right. So, and we shared the story on our last episode. Dad passed with cancer diagnosis that you battled for the last several years of his life. 11 years ago?
11 and a half years.
11 and a half years
counting,
ago.
Yes.
And so, how would you describe how God used your new season of singleness in the last decade? Like it didn't seem like you slowed down in life or in purpose. It just changed.
It did change, and I feel like God healed my heart of the deep grief that we most always go through when you lose someone you really love.
Sure.
And I remember shortly after my husband passed, I was feeling guilty. I thought, Lord, what's wrong with me? I don't feel like I'm grieving like I should, like I would have expected. And I talked to a pastor friend who was asking me how I felt, how I was doing. I said, well, I'm feeling pretty guilty right now. And I said, I just don't understand this at all. I had a very wonderful marriage, wonderful relationship, but I don't feel the deep grief that I would have expected to feel. And he said to me, he said, Evelyn, you never have to feel guilty about a gift that God has given you. And I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. I needed to hear that, because the more I thought about it, if I were to have slipped into a deep, what I call that slippery slope of sorrow, so easy to get down into and so very difficult to get out of, it would have rendered me useless in ministry. And I feel like God says, I've got things for you to do. And so I have felt like the last decade plus that I've been an extension of my husband's ministry, that because I love to tell people that I was a widow. And I say I love to tell them that because their first response is, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And I love to say, you don't even need to feel sorry for me, because God, I know where my husband is. I know where I'm going. And God has still given me purpose here. Yeah. And I have life to live. And that's what I'm doing.
Now, in this season, you wrote a book.
I did.
And we talk about, and again, I want to highlight that book again. It's tell us what is can someone search for it on Amazon?
Yes, they can.
Okay. So we'll put the link there. But what's the name of the book?
Excuse me.
No, that's all right.
Becoming a Person of Destiny.
Okay, Becoming a Person of Destiny. And so people could look for that. It's a great book. So now that book also, you were also speaking as well, but that book has led to opportunities as people read that and they share it. And so not only did you write a book, you were able to spend a lot of opportunities just ministering and speaking and traveling. And many times Leanne would be tracking you on the phone. You're some town somewhere speaking. Yeah. Now, it has come to my attention, though, in the last year, God's kind of brought a new season in your life. Tell
Yes,
us a
he
little
has.
bit about, is it true that you were dating this last year?
Actually, it is. God is full of surprises. And this was a big surprise to me. I
Okay.
was really trying to learn how to be just content in my singleness. And I was really feeling like I was guarding my heart quite well.
Yeah.
And
Old Fort Knox over there.
yeah, see, I have something to show. Anyway.
Oh, I didn't even notice. I forgot. So what is that? What is that accessory on your ring finger?
I am now engaged to be married next month.
Next month.
In fact, maybe by the time
By the time this releases,
Yes.
I might be in Washington celebrating
And
the
helping
wedding.
Yes.
So in just a second,
Yes.
we'll wrap this up in a second, but I want to talk about. So you started noticing this gentleman.
Well, I did.
And then did you feel like right away, man?
No,
Tell us just a quick
I'll
shot
try
of the
to
story.
do this, and but I'll try to do my best. Yes.
The commercial comes on in a few minutes, so we just got a couple minutes.
Yes. Okay. So this, you meet people at church, and this man and his wife were just good church friends, and his wife and I became good friends, and I knew her better than I did him. But she passed a couple of years ago, and I still thought, Jim. His name is Jim.
Okay, I like that
And
name.
I
Is that
do
short
too.
for James?
I believe it is. Yes,
Okay.
it is, as a matter of fact. So anyway, I just thought, last September. It started last September, actually. He called me up and invited me to go to a gala. It was a fundraiser for Atlas Free. And
Those
I thought,
fundraisers.
wow.
They are gateways to
I'm
relationships.
like, no, I'm guarding my heart. There's not going to be any relationship
Are you
out
just
of
raising
this.
some funds for mission?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So I go, and what I didn't know, there would be a lot of people there that from my church, including my grandkids. My granddaughter was there, and she goes up to me.
You have a
I have
date,
a gentleman. Yes.
But you weren't thinking necessarily date,
No,
but a date.
No, but kind of.
So the
yeah.
grandkids say it.
So my granddaughter, she says, "Grandma, what is this?" And I said, "I don't know. What does it look like?" But it was just kind of funny because then I already knew him as a friend.
Yeah.
And we both missed having somebody to do things in life with. And
Yeah.
I thought, what a great friendship.
Yeah.
I like to cook. And so I would have him over a few times and we'd cook dinners together.
Did you do the black bean salsa?
No, that didn't work very well the first time around when I tried it
I
on
was
you.
not like, I was going to say,
Actually, but I have tried, and he likes it, actually.
he does?
Yes, he does.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
But I think just that camaraderie of having somebody, a man in your life, and for him to have a woman in his life, a friend that we could do
fast
things
friends
with.
then, yeah.
Yes, fast friends.
But-
we started sitting together at church, and people started going, "So what's going on between you and Jim?" And I'm going, "Truly, nothing. This is just a friendship. It's a good friendship. He's a wonderful man, and I'm really glad to have him in my life." And I felt like I was being very sincere. I was guarding my heart.
Yeah.
And then, can I tell this?
Oh, I don't even know what it is, but the answer is yes.
Okay, so one day, people are asking me all over the church, "What's going on? We think something's happening." I'm going, "No." I try to tell them we're just friends.
Yeah.
And I thought, I need to talk to Jim. What is he thinking this is?
Get our story straight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I go over and I said, "So, people are talking about us." He hadn't heard anything. Guys don't talk like women do.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he said, "Well, I've been trying to figure out what's going on." I said, "Well, would you say we're dating?" And he's looking at me like, well, he had a different idea of what dating is, But he said, "Well, I've been to your house a few times. You've been to mine. We've done something." He said, "Yeah, I think we could probably
Yeah.
call that dating." I said, "Okay, just trying to figure this out."
And we call that defining the relationship in the biz.
Defining the relationship.
Yeah, the DTR.
And then
Uh-oh.
there's
the then.
Well, then Valentine's is coming.
Oh,
and I'm
no.
thinking,
Oh,
I need
that's
to get him, I want to get him a friendship card, but I don't want it to look like I'm trying to be romantic or anything like that.
Okay, now time out.
Yes.
I've never received a friendship card on Valentine's Day, but keep going.
Okay. Well, I found a really nice one Because again, I'm guarding my heart, and I want to make sure this doesn't sound like anything.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
just a platonic Valentine's Day
Yes,
card.
and I found a
to the
beautiful
person
one
I'm
that
spending
said,
Valentine's Day
I
with.
thank the Lord for this friendship we have. And I thought that was a
That'd
nice...
be hard for me to take.
And I ran
That'd
into...
be hard for me to take.
And then I found a friend that was at the same store I was. I said to my friend, I said, do you think this looks like just a friendship card if I was to give this to Jim?
In the Valentine's Day section.
Yes. Well, it was in the card section. And she says, yep, just friendship. Absolutely, just friendship. I said, perfect. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to give it to him because I don't want him to feel bad if he doesn't get me a friendship card.
No.
So,
shame is not from God.
No, but I filled it all out and it was ready just in case. Well, when he comes to my house, he not only has a card, I can't remember if he had a card or not, but he had a beautiful arrangement of flowers.
Were they friendship flowers?
No, I don't think so because they came from a florist, and it's not like going to Safeway and picking up
on Justin.
I know. I'm just like, oh my, this was exciting, and then I'm getting kind of excited, and then
you knew.
And then I'm at his. Oh, I got to tell this one little story.
I want you to.
So then I'm at his house, and in a course of conversation, I needed to use the restroom, so I go in the bathroom, and I took a gasp because there was a hand towel, and it's after Valentine's Day, but it's a seasonal towel.
Oh yeah.
And it's got conversation hearts on it, and I think they said, kiss me, hug me, love me, something like that. And he's sending me a message.
That sneaky friend.
And I'm thinking to myself, if I weren't interested in her, I certainly wouldn't leave this towel up when she came to the house.
No, I am hiding that towel.
So when I get ready to leave, I said, I got your message. I gave him a hug and I kissed him on the cheek and he kissed me back and it was like, oh my word, it was so exciting. And then things just really propelled fast and I felt like, I think I'm falling in love with this guy, just like that. And from that point on, we were just talking about getting married and just talking about, he said to me, now he doesn't really remember this, but this is what I heard him say when I said, I think I'm falling in love with you. He says, already been there, done that. And I'm going, yes, this is what we're going to do. And then it was a shock to the family because it seemed like I was trying to convince everybody that we were just friends.
Yeah.
But anyway, So
the wedding is happening in June, and you're here in Springfield. And one of the reasons you're here in Springfield, we have a special guest as we close today. Should we bring him out?
Yes, absolutely.
Jim is here. So, Jim, you can come and share a mic. Not too close because that's a friendship mic. But this is Jim Pickett. Jim, we welcome you to our family. We're so thankful to have you. We believe that God is in this, and we celebrate. And so I know we call them the Riff Raff, our Riff Nation. They already love Evelyn, and so I know they're going to love you too. Just wanted to introduce you to our church. So.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, and it's great to meet you, Jeremy.
Thank you. And I honestly, I didn't know you were a towel guy, so I would have had better prepared towels in your bathroom that you're staying at our house.
Well, in all honesty, I wasn't thinking along that line. My wife made towels for every season, so they change with every holiday or seasonal event.
Yeah.
And that just happened to be the February.
In February, I put it up. It's the guest bathroom. I don't use it that much, and it stayed there all month, and I never even thought about it. So.
Well, hey, God works in mysterious ways.
He does, and I have no argument at all with that process.
I'm just glad it wasn't October. Could you imagine if his message was scary, stay out, boo?
Yes.
Right? That would have been
I'd have
bad.
been out of the house. Yes. So
well,
anyway.
Thank you for being with us on another episode of The Riff, May 2024, and now here in June 2025. And we love you all, and we hope to have you again sometime soon. But thanks for listening to The Riff.
You.
We love you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.